When I think about tax, I think about Crescencia Hernandez, who lives in Guatemala. She's 50 years old, but she looks older than that to me. She's got 9 children. She lives in a house that doesn't really give her very much shelter from the heat nor from the cold. And she grows her food on land that's rented, but she always has to pay the rent, even if the harvest is very poor. The malnutrition statistics for kids under 5 in her area are so high, it's like 70%. So although her children are grown now, 7 of the 9 of them will still be suffering with the lifelong impacts of chronic malnutrition, so stunted growth and problems with their brain development. In fact, 15 years ago, her daughter was hospitalised with acute malnutrition, that's the kind you die from, and this year her grandson was hospitalised with the same. She said to me, to have a malnourished child, that's the worst kind of poverty there is. So even though her cash income is basically nil, Crescencia still pays her taxes. In Guatemala, a lot of the tax comes from VAT, so even if she's just buying a little bit of salt or a little bit of sugar or the oil that she uses to cook with, she's paying the tax that she's due to pay. She doesn't have a team of lawyers looking for loopholes, and she doesn't have the tax breaks of the large multinationals or even the large national companies working in Guatemala. The thing that shocks me about such high levels of poverty in Guatemala is that it's almost become normal. So if I'm Crescencia, I look at my child and how they're growing. If they're tall enough, if they're developing well, I compare them to the neighbours. So if they're the same, I don't necessarily see there's a problem. If I only eat 2 meals a day, but so do my neighbours, I don't necessarily see that I'm not getting enough to eat. So it's almost like they've lost the ability to be shocked, but we have not. At the moment, we're all, the world, the global community, are allowing these loopholes to exist that mean that businesses are managing not to pay all the tax that they should. So obscene, transformational amounts of money that could really transform the lives of these poor people. It's not getting where it should because people are using these loopholes. And this is what Christian Aid does. We shine a spotlight on injustices like this, things that keep poor people poor. In Guatemala, the government doesn't have enough money to make sure all of its children are fed. And even the presidential advisor said to me that if tax evasion wasn't a problem anymore, the money that would generate for them would help them easily meet the Millennium Development Goals. So Christian Aid is campaigning, suggesting real, practical, realistic changes that could have a massive impact. And nationally, we're helping our partners change regressive tax systems in the country that are unfair to the poor, and to make sure that the government are showing them how they're spending the money. We're talking about justice, we're not talking about charity. So while they may have lost the ability to be shocked, we have not. And I want to see us bring about these changes so that in the future, Crescencia, like us, can be shocked by hunger and poverty.